fighting men. It went on for 6 years, and by the time it was over, a colossal 70 million people had died. So what made the Germans start World War II? Why did Germany invade Poland? It's not like they just woke up one morning and said to one another, "Hey, I've got a really crazy idea. Let's invade Poland." It all started 20 years earlier at the end of the Great War. The Germans had lost and they weren't at all happy about it. The trouble was that the countries which won, like America, Britain and France, wanted them to pay for all the damage that had been done, which was a lot. The total bill came to £22 billion. War isn't cheap. The Germans were bewildered and angry. They thought they were going to win. They had been winning at the beginning, and now they were supposed to pay back all this money. How unfair can you get? The whole world gets depressed. While the Germans were moaning about how badly they were being treated, everyone else was busy celebrating the end of the war, spending money on jazz records, cars, and chocolate chip cookies. But then suddenly in 1929, the whole world went bust. Banks and businesses closed, people lost their jobs because there was no money to pay their wages, and families couldn't afford food or heating. Life may have been bad everywhere else, but in Germany they had to pay off their colossal debt too. For ordinary Germans, things were truly desperate. This dreadful time was called the Great Depression. Money in a wheelbarrow. Imagine if you had a machine that could print money. Just think of all the things you could buy. 1,642 pairs of trainers, the entire Manchester United first team, plus the reserves. But believe it or not, it's possible to have too much of the stuff. In Germany in the early 1920s, the government printed more and more paper notes to try and make up for the lack of money. Soon there were banknotes everywhere. So many were printed they became almost worthless. You had to fill a wheelbarrow with banknotes to buy a loaf of bread. Sometimes a robber would nick the wheelbarrow and leave the money on the ground because it wasn't worth anything. Lots of people gave the contents of their wallets to their children to play with or made kites out of all the different coloured notes. What could the Germans do to get out of this mess? They didn't have anything to eat, and the future looked grim. The politicians weren't any help. They just argued with each other all the time. People thought they needed somebody to sort things out for them, someone who could make Germany rich and successful again. Who could that someone be? Hitler, the crybaby. Among the thousands of German men who'd fought in World War I was a weirdly weird weirdo with a crazy gleam in his eyes. His name was Adolf Hitler. He loved being a soldier. He used to volunteer for all the mad, dangerous jobs, like running between the trenches with messages while dodging falling bombs. Several times he narrowly escaped being blown to bits. He won lots of medals for bravery, but his fellow soldiers, who were fed up with the rotten food, the muddy trenches and being shot at every day, thought he was a nutter. They fancied going home, but Adolf told them that anyone who wanted to bottle out was a traitor. When his beloved Germany finally surrendered, Hitler was gutted. In fact, he was so upset, he cried for days. Nasty Nazis! Soon he became the leader of a bunch of people called the Nationalist Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazis for short, who were also very upset about losing the war. Hitler said Germany would have won if certain people hadn't sabotaged the war effort. And if Germany hadn't lost the war, the German people wouldn't have owed £22 billion. And if they didn't owe £22 billion, they'd be rich and happy. And who do you think the certain people were that Hitler was on about?